You have 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay, so this is just going to be a very quick presentation. It is not part of any project yet. There are issues which have come up, still being conceptualized on a topic I would like to work on, the Anthropocene, the era of wars between nature and then man. So it's still under conceptualization, but because of this program, I wanted to bring out something to present.
Are you sure that the connection is
Alright, so I want to present something on the coastal management issues in Ghana. I want to focus on the central coast. My friend presented on the eastern coast, and I'm happy he did that and show some scenarios of the coastline of Ghana and how relatively stable the central coast has been.
maybe a way to share how to share this?
issue of coastal management, but from the morphological perspective. So why now coastal management? Taking a look at the dynamics of the Ghanaian coastline, the major threat of the Central Coast, affected some concerns. Now, from the natural perspective, the coastal zone is just a dynamic zone because of the location of this particular area. So, because of its location, we have the atmosphere, climate affecting it, we have the lithosphere or the land areas affecting it, then we also have water bodies also affecting it. So, because of all these effects, it makes the coastal zone very, very dynamic. Apart from this natural state of it being dynamic, we also have a lot of resources which are very beneficial to man. And so it tends to provide so much of economic and social well-being to mostly the coastal countries. Now, these resources that the coast provides has led to a lot of degradation, and this is the reason why coastal management has become a very topical issue. Now, when we look at the Ghanaian coastline that my colleague mentioned, about 550 kilometers, the major geomorphic processes which are shaping the Ghanaian coastline includes the wave action resulting in coastal erosion as a result of the long shore drift. These normally are natural processes because you have geomorphic agents which are naturally supposed to erode and then deposit. But it becomes an issue which is so crucial now and needs discussion because of the issue of the rise in the global sea level due to the changing global climate as a result of the melting Antarctic and then the Arctic ice. And aside these natural factors also, we have the human adaptations to the natural environment. So we see man everywhere within the environment trying to adapt within the environment for it to suit it. And these natural adaptations or human adaptations have been accelerated so much that it is leading to high rates and intensities of these natural geomorphic processes. And it has led to the issue of coastal management becoming very, very crucial. And so, like my colleague mentioned earlier, when you look at these three divisions that we have along the Ghanaian coastline, the central coast is supposed to be relatively stable. But over the years, it has not been so stable as that. So we have a baseline of 1991, and we try to look at how it has changed. And we realize that from 1991, 2003, 2013, 2023, it has not really been that stable. And so the question is, what is leading to this now instability in the central coast, which relatively used to be stable amongst these three divisions of the Ghanaian coastline? And two major issues come up. The very first one is the unregulated and indiscriminate sediment mining that goes on along the beach. And we can also talk about shoreline encroachment. And so this is an area at the Elmina. This particular area, you go there very early morning and you see huge trucks there mining the sand and then selling them. And this is now the nature of that particular area. And interestingly, just this Saturday, we had news all over talking about Mori, which is also part of the Central Coast. And these Mori, they have really been affected recently by flooding, and it's become so topical that, and interestingly, the news item talks about the irony at the Mori shore, raging waves and then sand winners. So these people who have recently been affected and are in the news seeking support are themselves those people who are mining their own sand, causing this havoc that is coming upon themselves. So it is so crucial here in terms of the sand mining. And this one is just trying to look at those encroachment sites along the Central Coast. And now when you move along this coast, we have a lot of restaurants, and these restaurants have been placed so close that they are almost encroaching the shoreline. And this particular shoreline here is supposed to, in fact, it was gotten from Sentinel to 2018. And these images now showing on this particular new shoreline is just a recent image on Google 2023. And it tells you this is the sea level, and it tells you that indeed these are areas which have now encroached onto the shoreline. And so this is a picture of a particular restaurant, and then look at where the sea level is, look at where it is located. And this is a much closer picture. So you realize that as it beats along it, it is going to cause a whole lot of havoc. Now you look at this picture again, and you can see that these are causing a whole lot of erosion now at the or along the central coast. Now the effect of these two major threats to shoreline management is that they have really reduced the naturalness of the coastal environment. Now when you go to these coastal sites, you realize that the beaches that we normally found, they are almost no more, because immediately at the coast, you descend and you are just getting into the ocean. So you don't really see how natural it has been. Then we also see a whole lot of potential hazards, including retreating coastlines. And so Apienin, Ado, and Boating, they have all spoken about the fact that the Ghanaian coastline is retreated. And even the image that I showed also shows that the central coastline itself is also retreating. As a result of these, there is now the growing reliance on risk reduction through engineered solution. And so I'm glad that they have already mentioned about all these engineering projects which have gone on along the Ghanaian coastline. Interestingly, along the Elmina Cape Coast shoreline, or the Central Coast shoreline, it is now part of the phase 3 of these emergency sea defense. So it means that Ghana, we have had the phase 1, we have had the phase 2, and then now we are in the phase 3. Now, these areas initially were not that affected, but this is a heritage site, that is the Elmina Castle, which was nearly affected by these ravaging seas. So automatically they had to build this defense to protect this major heritage site. This is a site which also attracts a lot of tourists to the central region. And so when they come here, at least it adds so much to the GDP of the country, right? So they have done all these things. But the unfortunate thing, okay, so I was talking about the effects of these threats. Is that the sea defense which has been built, unfortunately, is supposed to be protecting these heritage sites and it's also protected these settlements which are along the coastal zones. But there is this other aspect of this thing that we wish to talk about, and that aspect is about the effect of these projects on the natural environment. Now, we look at this, it is not so clear, but this is part of the sea defense which is being built. And this is a bridge which is apparently the estuary of one major river, that is the Kapung. And just recently, the past year, we had a lot of flooding. Now, you look at the amount of precipitation which was received, and you compare it to the previous years, we have had higher amounts of precipitation than even this one. But the effect of the last year June's precipitation on the people was drastic. So the question is, you look at the level of water, then you look at the bridge. The question one asks is that, are these projects sustainable? Are they environmentally sustainable? Because you look at the growing population now, and you look at the growing intensities of how the environment is being changed. The kind of projects these people along the coast are engaged in. We are talking about sea mining, we are talking about encroachment. And these are the issues which are leading to the changing shorelines. So if we are looking at protecting these same people who are affecting the natural environment by not letting them understand what they are doing, and rather engaging in these projects which implicitly are also not environmentally sustainable, then what are we actually doing to ourselves? So the concerns raised for me with all these things that is happening is that, yes, we have issues. The sediment mining is an issue. We talk about the shoreline encroachment, it is an issue. But interestingly, the sea defense, which is now the way the government is going, is sustainable. Because we have a whole lot of effects. Let's look at the effects. We have the first one talking about affecting the functions of the coastal subsystems. So you look at the beach, along the beach where people go for recreation, along the beach where people go for tourism. All these places are being mined by people. Now they go there and then there is nothing there. The sea defense has in fact cut all these resources off. So there is no beach. Now when you look at the sea defense here, you realize that now the waves hit it and then there is no place for even the position. So how is the beach going to be formed, and what about the amount of revenue that the government gets from all these resources that used to be there? So if we are just looking at one aspect of, okay, solving the issue of encroachment of the ocean, are we also looking at what is causing the encroachment? Just solving the issue wouldn't really help us. We are also looking at the encroachment where people are taking off vegetation on the coast. And like we said, because of the location of the coast, whatever happens on the back shore has an influence on everything that is happening along the shore, on the forecourt shore. So if we have people removing vegetation, then it means that the functions of all these subsystems is going to be compromised. Let's look at even the importance of beaches and dunes. They also serve as protective mechanism during the high waves and protecting these settlements from flooding. But these are the things, that natural barriers to flooding and other coastal hazards, they are being removed. Vegetation is being removed. The coastal wetlands are now also being removed. Now we also look at the geomorphic processes and then realize that all these issues we are talking about are affecting the longshore drift, the sedimentary distribution, the wave dynamics, and that is why we have had presenters from Togo, from Benin, and even in Ghana realize that it is just moving from one place to the other, one place to the other, one place to the other. And so we talk about the down drift you build a defense here, and then it means you are just transferring the problem from one location to the other. And then the outcome is the changes in the coastal morphology, increase in government expenditure, and then the loss of livelihood. Because you have a whole lot of people who just stand close on the beach, and then they get their source of livelihood from there. But with all these sea defense, where do they stand to even get these sources of livelihood? Now, again, the people themselves who are the center of the problem are now those people who are also crying. So we talk about the sun winners at Mori, and then these are people who are also now appealing for support. So you are mining the sand, you are causing havoc, the government is paying so much for these investments. Now the government has to also come and take care of you. So what are we doing to ourselves? We say that the overall impact is that all these issues occurring, they are human or man-made. So this is the era that geomorphologists talk about, the Anthropocene, where humans have become the center of change in the environment. But we are also the same people who are preaching on sustainability. And so what is sustainability? In this era, many humans are modifying the environment so much that it does not even sustain them themselves. Now we realize that there is a disturbance in the natural balance between the form and processes, which leads to a negative reinforcement of shoreline instability. So at the end of the day, we are only looking at trying to mitigate all these coastal hazards, but actually we are not mitigating them. We say that it is a pending problem which has been deferred. That is why we have had phase 1, we have had phase 2, we are now having phase 3, and automatically in the future we are going to have phase 4, and then it moves on like that. And so there are some good practices that has been seen along the same shoreline. Over a short distance, we have seen a lot of afforestation projects going on, and then in this picture you see that the beach is building. So why not look at some of these other strategies in trying to sustain the environment in the face of these maybe coastal hazards as well as growing population. And so in conclusion, we say that the coastal zone is a system of interconnections. A system of interconnections which is not based on just one part of it. So if we are trying to resolve issues relating to coastal hazard, it means that we should have an aim. The aim here is that we look at all the benefits we derive in the environment. And then the benefit means that we have a lot of all stakeholders. We have these tourists, we have these people, human settlements depending on the coast. We also have even the ecosystems, the wetlands, the mangroves and all those things, which are all supposed to be part of the management plan. And so having a look at all these, it is suggested that we consider a holistic integrated approach whereby all these subsystems are considered for a better management of the coast without compromising some of the importance derived from it. On this note, I say thank you.